Director Quality Assurance Footer, you are welcome. Other members of staff, you are welcome to this program. Thank you very much.
If you want cook soup, now what are you going to use? If your head is hot, now what are you cool on? Tomo bandagba, oh mi lo malo. If your child they grow, now what are him go use? If water kill your child, now what are you go use? To me back mama when
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Adenike Temidayo Oladiji, I welcome all of us to this all-important occasion, the 167th in the series of the inaugural lecture of our university. In a couple of seconds, we will formally kickstart the program. May I crave your indulgence to rise for the procession of the Vice Chancellor. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I respectfully implore you to rise for the procession of the Vice Chancellor. We will take the national anthem and pledge as well as the futa anthem.
Arise, O compatriots, Nigerians call obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To
The Nigerian National Pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend our unity and uphold our honor and glory. So help me God. Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Shall we double the applause as we take our seats? Again, on behalf of our Vice Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor of the nation's best university of technology and the second best federal university in Nigeria, Professor Adenike Oladiji, I welcome all of us, my Lord spiritual and temporal, leaders of different academic communities, to the 167th in the series of the inaugural lecture of our university. The title for today's lecture is Water is Life, the Missing Link in Nigeria. It will be delivered by Emmanuel Olajuyigbe, Professor of Urban and Regional Planning. A round of applause for the inaugural lecturer, please. In consonance with the established tradition of our institution, today's ceremony will be presided over by our Vice Chancellor, who is ably represented here today by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Development, Professor Sunday Samuel Oluyamo. Mr. Acting Vice Chancellor, you are welcome, sir. On the side of the divide, we have the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, Professor Taiwo Timothy Amos. You are welcome, sir. The registrar of our institution is today being represented by one of the leaders of our registry, the Director, Student Affairs, Mr. Felix Olufeyisayo Adetula. We welcome you, sir. He's representing Mr. Registrar today. The bursar is here in person, Mr. Julius Adefola Adeshoba. A round of applause for the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Our librarian is also here, Dr. Robert Akiade Awoyemi. We welcome you, sir. The deans of our various schools are here. Let me start with the acting chairman, Committee of Deans, who doubles as the Dean School of Environmental Technology, Professor Isaac Olaniyi Ajay. You are welcome, sir. We have the Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Victor Okoliko Ukwenya. We welcome you, sir. The Dean School of Computing, Professor Boniface Kayode Aleshe. You are welcome, sir. The Dean School of Engineering and Engineering Technology is here being represented by Professor Michael Adeyeri. You are welcome, sir. The Dean School of Logistics and Innovation Technology, Professor Olayemi Oladende Simon Oke, is here in person. We welcome you, sir. The Dean School of Life Sciences, Professor Michael Olufemi Ashamo is also here in person. A round of applause for him. The Dean School of Physical Sciences, Professor Femi Barnabas Adebola, you are recognized and welcome. We also welcome the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Oluayo Bello Olusoji, you are welcome, sir. And of course, the Dean that commands the largest contingent of forces, as it were, on campus, Dean Student Affairs Division, Professor David Olanrewaju Oke, we welcome you, sir. At this juncture, I'd like to respectfully invite the Vice Chancellor of our institution, who is being represented by Professor Sunday Samuel Oluyamo to deliver the Vice Chancellor's address. A round of applause for the acting Vice Chancellor.
The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, representative of the Registrar, and other principal officers, my lords, spiritual and temporal, top government functionaries here present, the inaugural lecturer of today, Professor Emmanuel Olajuyigbe, deans, directors, and heads of departments, distinguished members of Senate and congregation, eminent scholars, and friends of our university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, great Nigerian students. I am delighted to welcome you to the 167th inaugural lecture of the Federal University of Technology, Akure. I warmly welcome our spiritual and traditional leaders, top government functionaries, captains of industries, friends of the university, and the entire staff and students of the university. I welcome with great pleasure the immediate and extended family members, friends, and well-wishers of the inaugural lecturer. I felicitate with Professor Emmanuel Olajuyigbe on this academic milestone. May I, at this juncture, request the inaugural lecturer to please rise while I present his citation. Emmanuel Olajuyigbe was born on 3rd September 1960 in Aramoko, Ekiti State. He had his elementary education at LA Primary School, Aramoko, Ekiti, and thereafter proceeded to Aramoko District Secondary School, Aramoko, Ekiti, where he obtained his secondary school certificate. He furthered his education at the Federal School of Arts and Science, Ogoja, Cross River State, where he obtained advanced level certificate. He later proceeded to the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, where he bagged BSc Geography in 1982. After his NYSc in 1983, he proceeded to the University of Ibadan and obtained master's degree in urban and regional planning in 1985. He also obtained a postgraduate diploma in urban surveys and human settlement analysis from the prestigious Institute of Aerospace Surveys and Earth Sciences, University of Twente, the Netherlands, in 1992. Professor Olajuyigbe obtained PhD in urban and regional planning from the Federal University of Technology, Akure. Professor Emmanuel Olajuyigbe joined the services of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, as Lecturer 2 in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, School of Environmental Technology in 2004 and rose through the ranks to the position of professor in 2018. Professor Olajuyigbe has supervised 21 masters and 4 PhD students to completion. He has served as external and internal examiner at many undergraduate and postgraduate examinations. He has also attended many local and international conferences. Professor Olajuyigbe specializes in infrastructural planning with bias in water and sanitation and has published over 50 research journals articles in reputable journals, both local and international peer-reviewed journals. He is a reviewer of academic and professional journals, which include International Journal of Environmental Sciences, Nigeria, Journal of Social Sciences, USA, Current Research Journal of Social Sciences, UK, Ethiopia Journal of Environmental Studies and Management, Ethiopia, Journal of Sustainable Development, Canada, and Mediterranean Journal of Social Sciences, Italy. Professor Olajuyigbe belongs to many professional bodies. He is Fellow, Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Member, Nigerian Institute of Management Consultants, Member, Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, 2009. Professor Olajuyigbe has also consulted widely for national and multinational bodies within and outside Nigeria, prominent among which are the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, Ondo State Development and Investment Promotion Agency, International Marine and Dredging Consultants, Sumoyo Productive Power Limited, Australia, Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, that's a World Bank project, Santi Golden Sugar Estate, UK and Nigeria. Professor Emmanuel Olajuyigbe has served the university in many capacities, some of which are Director, University Center, 2021 to date, Director, Center for Entrepreneurship, 2012 to 2014, Associate Director, Center for Research and Development, 2007 to 2012, Head, Department of Urban and Regional Planning, 2021 to 2022, Representative of Congregation in Senate, 2016 to date, Team Lead, Committee for the Review of Futa Campus Master Plan, 2013 to date. Member, Board of Center for Entrepreneurship and Gender Issues in Science and Technology, 2009 to 2014. Member, Board of Center for Continuing Education, 2007 to 2014. Member, Set Research Focus to Step B Project Committee, 2010 to date. Professor Emmanuel Olajuyigbe is happily married to Dr. Mrs. Fola Wewo Winifred Olajuyigbe ni Adaramewa, and the union is blessed with children. A report of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources in Nigeria and UNICEF says that 1/3 of the population in Nigeria drinks contaminated water. The lack of adequate domestic water to meet human drinking needs, sanitation and hygiene is indeed a constraint to human health and productivity, and by extension, economic development. Hence, the urgent need to increase investment in sustaining access to hygiene, water, and sanitation to meet the required domestic water need in Nigeria. The lecture of today will be addressing the factors inhibiting access to domestic water in Nigeria despite our abundant natural water resources. as well as suggest solutions for sustainable water service delivery. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Emmanuel Olajuyigbe as he presents the 167th inaugural lecture of the university titled, Water is Life, the Missing Link in Nigeria. Thank you.
Vice Chancellor, Professor Adenike Temidayo Oladiji, FAS, ably represented by Deputy Vice Chancellor, Development, the Registrar, other principal officers, deans and directors, heads of departments, members of the University Senate, distinguished professors, Royal Highnesses, my lords, spiritual and temporal, distinguished professional and academic colleagues, president and distinguished members of FUTA Alumni Association worldwide, invited guests and friends of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, greatest Futarian. In the beginning, my dream was to become a chartered accountant, following my attainment of high grades in economics, geography, and mathematics at the GCE advanced level in 1979. Unfortunately, I was conscripted to study geography at BSc level by a professor of geography, Professor Omolade Adejuyigbe, who was much impressed by my results. This decision did not go well with me. However, my late uncle, Mr. Akinyemi Bikunle, whose pronouncement were lost due to his braininess and first to obtain a master's degree in my community, forced me to accept this offer. Not happy with this imposition, I programmed myself to fail. Thus, I decided to only attend classes and not study thereafter. Strangely enough, I led the class at the end of the first semester at university. This propelled me to drop my earlier decision to start off a degree course in law, having obtained another admission form for the following session. The pains of having been drafted to study geography started me to pursue a master's degree in urban and regional planning, irrespective of the fact that my department offered me an unsolicited admission for MPhil PhD in geography, following my outstanding performance in the BSc program. Today, I am highly blessed to have taken that decision, having been pronounced as a professor in this chosen career. The profession has equally enabled me to consult widely for notable organizations and government institutions, including the World Bank, UNDP, UNICEF, Dangote Group, Southwest Bitumen Limited, Kenena Group of Sudan, Something Golden Sugar of UAK, International Marine and Dredging Consultant of Belgium, Sumoyo Productive Power of Australia, and Ondo State Development and Investment Promotion Agency, among several others. Such engagements have enabled me to lead several studies, including environmental impact assessment of Dangote Refinery, the largest investment portfolio in Africa. Southwest Bitumen Exploration and Mining, the first in Africa. Dangote Sugar Refinery at Tonga, the biggest sugar refinery in Nigeria. Dangote Fertilizer and the 77-megawatt combined cycle power plant developed to power the Red Metro line for Lagos Metropolis, among others. I have also led the team of experts that work on the resettlement action plan for the Ondo State Deep Sea Port Project and several resettlement action plans for New Map, the World Bank project in Nigeria. I had a flourishing career in the civil service, having at various times served as town planning officer, assistant director and deputy director in governmental organizations, before finally being appointed as state program monitoring advisor by the United Nations Development Program. The popularity attained from my seemingly good performance at the UNDP desk in Ekiti State precipitated threats from the political class and eventually put me in a political crossfire, which eventually truncated my UN service. It was a sad turning point for me, as I had to pull out from a job that exposed me to lifting the masses from poverty. Joining FUTA as a lecturer was my first choice, as I considered it apposite to share the knowledge that I gained both at the national and international services with the younger generation. God's grace has enabled me to rise from the low rung of lecturer 2 in 2004 to full professor in 2016. I bless his holy name. The Vice Chancellor. Inaugural lectures are rituals that normally announce scholars as professors. Thus, I am seizing today's event to present my stewardship in academics and community services to the world. The lecture has also been designed to project my scholarship and the numerous students that have passed through my mentorship. The title. I picked this title, Water is Life, the missing link in Nigeria. Due to the importance of water to the existence of life on earth, and yet its current poor state of access in qualitative and quantitative terms by Nigerians. UTSEF and AHO 2012 asserted that water is the most important resource to human being after air. While man can survive for months without food, it is hardly possible to do so without water. The report of the United Nations revealed that despite the importance of water and the resolution of the world to recognize the right to safe and clean drinking water as human rights, the goal of access to water by all is still unreachable for most of the world's population. In Nigeria, only about 69% of Nigerians have access to water, and less than 25% of them use safely managed drinking water. WHO UNICEF 2017. The largest percentage of the Earth's surface is made up of water, as it covers over 70% of its total area, Project 2017. This implies that natural water is ubiquitous, yet it is unavailable to many. What is actually missing? It is from this perspective that this lecture is conceived, to unravel the mystery of water scarcity within water abundance in nature in Nigeria and other developing nations of the world. Titular clarifications: water composition, characteristics, sources and uses. Water is an inorganic, odorless, tasteless, transparent, and nearly colorless substance made up of hydrogen and oxygen existing in gaseous, liquid, and solid state. It is the main constituent of the Earth's hydrosphere and the fluids of all known living organisms. Discussions on water usually focus on blue water, which includes surface water and groundwater. Most available water in these two categories is usually found in an impure state and may not be available for consumption until sourced and processed. A full breakdown of the volume of water stored in the water cycle reservoir is presented in Table 1. Olajuyigbe and Fashak in 2010 cataloged sources of domestic water to include safe water, which is essentially piped water, improved water, which include covered wells, protected springs, rainwater, and unimproved water, which are rivers, streams, lakes, uncovered well, unprotected spring, bottled water, and sachet water. The use and importance of water to various endeavors are manifested in its environmental significance, its contribution to human health and survival, agriculture and industry, its legal and ethical dimensions, its cultural significance, and its economic impact. The nexus between water and life. Vista, Zavanije, and Phoenicia, 2009, asserted that water is the driving force of all nature. Water is used for drinking, cooking, and preparation of food, sanitation, farming, and all agricultural endeavor, and in production of consumables, without which life may not be possible. Recent research efforts underscore the critical link between water quality and public health. Famose and Olajuyigbe, 2023. Anderson and Smith, 2020. Olajuyigbe, Olamiju, and Olaomode, 2016. Water is not only necessary for physical survival, but it also has a profound impact on the mental and the emotional well-being of humans. It is a human right and a common development denominator for shaping a better future. UN 2023, the Global Water Challenge. Despite the importance of water, a global policy of safe drinking water had been established by authors and stakeholders. The UN 2021 reports that between 2015 and 2020, the proportion of the global population using safely managed drinking water increased from about 70% to 74%. Despite this progress, another 2 billion people still lack safely managed drinking water in 2020, including 771 million who were without even basic drinking water. Half of those lacking basic drinking water services live in sub-Saharan Africa, UN 2021. With the current trend, WHO, UNICEF 2023, alerted that achieving the SDG target for water will require current rates of progress to increase sixfold. The Nigerian water conundrum. Nigeria's population has been on a consistent upward trajectory, placing considerable strain on available water resources. However, Nigeria is blessed with abundant water resources. It is endowed with about 267 billion cubic meters of surface water and about 52 billion cubic meters of groundwater. Generally, the quality of groundwater in Nigeria is better than that of surface water in terms of health criteria, but much of the groundwater is also corrosive, as some areas have iron, nitrate, or fluoride concentration above WHO guideline values. Oyebola et al. 2015 categorized the challenges facing the water sector to include financial, commercial, operational, and institutional issues. It was noted that all recent efforts are still not achieving the required result owing to a weak water governance, Olajuyigbe 2010. It was asserted that if water governance is not reviewed, no amount of funds injected into the sector will sow good seeds. Camo 2023, Olajuyigbe 2010, Olajuyigbe 2011, succinctly expressed. The causes of the water conundrum in Nigeria could be summarized as population growth arising from rapid urbanization, climate change phenomenon, Ode et al. 2021, inadequate investment in water infrastructure, Ajibade et al. 2020, Olajuyigbe 2011, water pollution, Ogueleka 2020, Olajuyigbe, Olamiju and Olamole 2015, Yusuf Bako, Omole Nwokoro and Olajuyigbe 2014, Olajuyigbe, Alanitiwe Adegboyega and Salubi 2014, Olajuyigbe, Alinatiwe Adegboyega and Salubi 2013. Poverty as reflected in willingness or unwillingness to pay for water services, Olajuyigbe and Fashak in 2010A, poor water governance, Kukuola and Olajuyigbe 2023, Ode et al. 2021, Olajuyigbe 2016, and Olajuyigbe 2010C. Lack of proper data that ought to support water administration and enhance transparency and accountability, Kukuola and Olajuyigbe 2023, and Ajibade et al. 2020. Access to domestic water supply, the missing link in Nigeria. Nigeria is fortunate to have an abundant supply of ground and surface water. Paradoxically, most people in the country still lack access to safe drinking water. This is the missing link. This problem is natural and anthropogenic in origin. According to Alayondia and Akinolu Rafe 2019, the natural causes are mostly linked to climate change phenomena, which require global efforts. You say 2021 affirmed that Nigeria has a large endowment of freshwater resources and renewable water supply. It, however, asserted that withdrawals are low relative to supply, only 9.7%, and this is below the SDG water stress threshold. This implies that Nigeria is water stressed in the midst of abundance. The report traced the missing link to factors such as desertification and intense drought due to climate change and uncontrolled pastoralist behavior, flooding, unsustainable oil extraction activities, poor land use planning, inadequate storm water management, lack of comprehensive data on water quality, contamination of water resources, limited coordination, low funding, and low technical capacity to bring about usable water at the required quantity. You say 2021, response to water challenge in Nigeria. The responses to water challenge in Nigeria can be categorized into local, national, and global intervention, each playing a critical role in addressing water issues. Local intervention, these include A, community-led water projects, usually carried out in collaboration with NGOs and government agencies. B, hygiene education programs, and C, women empowerment programs. National intervention, this includes A, preparation of National Water Resource Bill 2017, B, implementation of water supply projects, including the construction of dams, reservoirs, and pipelines, and C, implementation of sanitation programs. The global intervention, Nigeria benefits from global support and participation in international efforts, including aid from UNICEF, from UNDP, World Bank, A, African Development Bank, B, commitment to achieving the SDGs, which aims at ensuring access to clean water and sanitation for all by 2030, and C, commitment to global initiatives that address climate change adaptation. However, Nigeria is still far from achieving safe water for all. Therefore, an assessment of specific responses to the water challenge is required to advance new and sustainable solutions to the Nigerian water conundrum. Assessment of responses to water challenge in Nigeria. The National Water Resource Bill 2017 was proposed to establish a regulatory framework for water delivery system in the country. However, this bill has been termed controversial, largely due to its consolidation of water management responsibility within the central government. However, plans are set up to guarantee a fast execution of SDGs, which has been orchestrated by the last pandemic. Surface and groundwater are not comprehensively or consistently monitored in Nigeria. Financial indiscipline and lack of accountability, accompanied by political interference, bad management, lack of maintenance culture, and others have aggravated this problem, bringing about financial burden from the sector of the various governments. Olajuyigbe and Fashak in 2010. Background to research interest. Water in physical planning. My interest. Physical planning is the active process of organizing the physical activities and land uses in order to ensure orderly and effective siting and coordination of facilities. A physical planner is involved in urban planning, regional planning, environmental planning, transportation planning, and infrastructure planning. Water master planning is an offshoot of infrastructure planning. At its core, water master planning seeks to ensure the availability of clean water, protect the environment, and enhance the overall quality of life in community. Transcend 2024. Generally, water planning and management refers to capability within the city to manage and plan water systems. Irrespective of its importance, water master planning remains ignored within the domain and processes of urban planning in most developing world. It has been established that there is a disjunction between urban planning and water planning. Totem 2002. Water planning is a concern that should warrant a central role in urban planning in order to reconfigure the water management paradigm and shift the emphasis away from mere water supply increment. My research trajectories and contributions to corpus of water research. The Vice Chancellor. In the past 2 decades, my research efforts are focused on domestic water supply, water demand, water quality, water governance, and water and sanitation. Findings and recommendations in these thematic areas are presented in this section, water supply. Olajuyigbe 2010 analyzed the attributes of domestic water sources in rapidly urbanizing state capital in Nigeria, using Ado-Ekiti as a focus. Variables of efficiency, availability, and effectiveness that could be harnessed in measuring these parameters with respect to water supply were examined. The study revealed that households in Ado-Ekiti had access to diverse sources of domestic water. In Ado-Ekiti, about 60% of the household depended on wells, 84% had access to improved water sources, but only 10% obtained supplies from pipe water, which is considered as the only safe source. However, pipe network was largely restricted to the city core. The research revealed that distance, time, number of trips, and adequacy of supply placed limitations on access to improved water source in this city. About 60% of the households obtain water supply within 1 kilometer from their dwelling places, while 30% spent more than 30 minutes round trip to obtain water from improved sources. Only 23% of the household had access to at least 40 liters of water per person per day, while about 40% of the inhabitants were annually afflicted with waterborne diseases. Olajuyigbe 2011 also engaged 2 key variables of access and quality to evaluate domestic water security in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. The results show that water security is in a precariously compromised condition, as evident from the fact that only 23% of the inhabitants were not afflicted by one waterborne disease or the other annually, as less than 10% had access to safe water. The study called for the adoption of atomization principle in water supply rather than reliance on mega water projects. It suggested frame work for water management in Ado-Ekiti and other similar cities in Nigeria is presented in Figure 2. History has shown that infectious disease, including COVID-19, have wreaked havoc among societies, cities, and countries of the world. Olajuyigbe, Okubena, Rotowa, and Ayodele 2021 carried out a study on COVID-19 pandemic and hygiene by assessing running water infrastructure in secondary schools in Ijebu North Local Government, Ogun State, Nigeria. The findings revealed that only one school, Molusi College, Ijebu-Igbo, was fully equipped with running water connected to buildings and with functional hand washing and sanitation facilities. Olajuyigbe wrote on in 2012 further exploit on water vending as a source of water supply in Nigeria, using first term Lagos State as its study area. The study identified the sources of water supply by the vendor and assessed the quality of water supply. The sources of water supply by the vendors include boreholes, wells, and municipal water supply. The study found that over 85% of the informal vendors never treated their water, thereby making it susceptible to high-level microbial contamination. Domestic water demand. Olajuyigbe 2010 examined factors that impact on the quantity of water available to households in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. For this study, multivariate analysis was deployed to analyze and detect significant factors that influence the quantity of water used by households. The model used in the empirical estimation of parameters of analysis in this study is the logistic, that is the double log linear regression, table 2. The study observed the pervasive influence of distance from the main source to house and the adequacy of supply from main source to the quantity of water used per household. The study recommended policy targets that will consider the following as minimum for the state: increase access to piped water to 80% and ensuring that no one goes beyond 200 meters to access water. Furthermore, Olajuyigbe and Fashaki in 2010 investigated the critical factors that impact on access to improved domestic water among the households in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. The result of the regression model, as exhibited in Table 3, indicated high collective influence of estimated parameters, in the sense that 98% in the variation in access to improved source of domestic water in Ado-Ekiti was accounted for by the variable used in this analysis. It was therefore concluded that for policy issue, one has to be prudent with the overbearing influence of the main source of water on access to improved source of water supply. Olajuyigbe and Fashaki in 2010 also examined the underlying factors influencing the choice of main source of domestic water among households in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. Using the double log form of regression model, empirical estimates show that the choice of main source of domestic water among households in the city is largely influenced by the desire to access improved water. Table 4. In a bid to ensure easy access to improved water among households, these scholars called for the construction of additional dam for Ado-Ekiti, since the city currently possesses a dam whose current design capacity cannot meet its water need at full capacity utilization. Additionally, Olajuyigbe and Fashaki in 2010 exploit citizens' willingness to pay for improved sustainable water supply in Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. Such analysis was considered as important to the success of the government current drive on privatization and divestment on infrastructural financing. The observed factors that significantly affect willingness to pay for improved sustainable water supply include main source of domestic water, access to improved source of water, distance from main source of water to house, among others. Irrespective of the observed water scarcity in Ado-Ekiti and the desire of households to have access to safe water, only 50% of the consumer paid for water service from the Ekiti State Water Corporation, while 44% never paid. The study advised the government to build up a commercialization plan for water supply through community penetrating alignment campaigns. It also urged the government to introduce water development charge. However, the study advised that the administration of this fund should be managed by a joint committee of both the Water Corporation and communities. Olajuyigbe, 2017, investigated scalability of water and sanitation of donor-assisted programs in the Karam-Minino village, Ondo State, Nigeria. The research reviewed the pre- and post-intervention state of water and sanitation situation in the beneficiary community. The study revealed that community members at individual level have scaled up the project to a moderate extent, 45%. However, at the community level, there was no significant evidence of scalability. The reason for poor scale-up include poverty, sophisticated technology, and unavailability of labor. The study, however, called for consolidation of these modest achievements by government at all levels and the communities in a bid to translate the dream of the donor to reality. Water quality. Olajuyigbe, Alinatiwe, Adeboye, and Salubi, 2012, carried out a spatial analysis of factors responsible for incidence of waterborne diseases in Ile-Ife, Nigeria. Data for the study were acquired from the Iconos satellite imagery and topographical map from which essential features were extracted using digital image processing techniques of Elders Imaging 9.1 version. Water samples were collected and analyzed using standard microbial and chemical methods. The microbial count, pH, and water hardness were interpolated using Kriging interpolation technique in RGS 9.3. Geocoding technique of RGS 9.3 was employed to match the addresses of the patient with the cases of waterborne diseases. The result of the GIS analysis of the pH and microbial counts of domestic water are shown in figures 3 and 4. The results show that most reported cases of waterborne diseases were due to environmental factors, including poor environmental sanitation and topography. In like manner, Yusuf, Baku, Omole, Nwokoro, and Olajuyigbe 2014 investigated the socio-temporal implication of inadequate water supply facilities on the residents of Ijora, Badia area of Lagos State, Nigeria. Table 5 shows that majority of the respondents obtained their main source of drinking water from water vendor, which is considered as unsafe. Table 6, on the other hand, shows that 87% of the respondents obtained water from a main source that was less than 100 meters from home. This implies that majority of the respondents' sources of water met up with the UN standard of less than 100 meters from home. Table 7 indicated that majority of the respondents disposed their fecal waste through the canal. Similarly, Olajuyigbe, Alanitiwe, Adeboye, and Salubi 2013 carried out a study on vulnerability and risk analysis of waterborne diseases in Ile-Ife, Nigeria, using GIS techniques. ILWIS 3.4 and RGS 9.3 versions were deployed for this purpose. The result of the analysis showed that 74% of the household use unimproved water. In the study, typhoid fever and most prevalent waterborne diseases, followed by diarrhea. The analysis of water samples in the community revealed high counts of microorganism and microbial growth. The pH value from the samples proved that the water is slightly acidic, while the total hardness is also high. Vulnerability of the study area to waterborne disease was assessed through the use of geospatial operators to spatially visualize the contributing factors initiating waterborne diseases in the study area. The results show that domestic water quality in the city has been grossly compromised. The pH, total hardness, microbial counts, and vulnerability of domestic water in the study area are displayed in figures 5, 6, 7, and 8. Furthermore, Olajuyigbe, Olamiju, and Olamole noted that Andog well was the major source of water supply in the core area of Akure, figure 9, and therefore investigated their vulnerability to diseases. Laboratory investigation showed that most parameters for water quality assessment fall within WHO permissible limit for drinking water. However, microbial examination indicated that drinking water quality was compromised in 2 residential quarters, as there were evidences of coliform and E. coli, table 8. Possible sources of contaminants in the study area include dump sites, slaughter slab, fecal waste from abattoirs, among others. Minimum safe distance from wells to source of pollution, including latrines and soakaway, was also seriously compromised. Water governance. In his research, Olajuyigbe observed that with an estimated population of 209,000, Ado-Ekiti needed about 16,000 cubic meters of water supply per day. However, the capacity of the existing Ekiti Water Corporation owned dam was only 4,950 cubic meters per day. Again, the study observed that water pipes were largely restricted to the city core. Most people therefore rely on other sources of supply that are often highly contaminated. In most cases, inadequate to meet the basic hygiene requirements. The study suggested that conventional centralized water supply and contribution system can no longer be effective in a rapidly growing city like Ado-Ekiti, and called for the construction of large-scale water distribution centers in the city as a priority. Olajuyigbe, 2016, also examined the extent to which community participation influences community ownership of water projects, its replicability and sustainability in a donor-driven project of the Karam Millennium Village in Ondo State. Elements of participatory development that were injected into the project conception, including the training of community members in the construction of water facilities and repair and maintenance of these facilities. The study established that less than 20% of the community members were willing to contribute more than 1,000 towards maintenance of this water project, thereby inhibiting its sustainability. Also, the research observed that community members were not involved in the planning, budgeting, and reporting of this water project. Water and sanitation. Olajuyigbe, Rutowa, Olusa, and Okeowo, 2023, examined the capacity of water and sanitation facilities in coping with the outbreak of waterborne diseases in primary schools in Akure, Nigeria. The findings revealed that most schools in the city lack adequate and potable water and sanitation facilities. In addition, these pupils studied in educationally deprived environment that did not augur well for cognitive development. This research concluded that most schools in the city were ill-equipped to meet the challenges posed by any outbreak of diseases, such as COVID-19. Table 9, 10, figure 10 show the type of sanitation facilities, sources of water, and existing condition of this facility in the study area. In another study, Olajuyigbe and Olajuyigbe 2015 examined the socio-economic factors affecting the sanitation preferences of households in Akure, Nigeria. The outcome of the study revealed that all the socio-economic factors except gender of households significantly affect preferences for sanitation facilities by households in the city. The result of the chi-square analysis revealed that there was a significant association between income of residents of Akure and preference for toilet facilities. Similarly, type of toilet and occupation showed a significant association with preference for sanitation facilities. Table 11. The study therefore canvassed for a demand-driven approach in resolving sanitation issue in the city, water, and the blue economy. The significance of the blue economy to sustainable development is already being embraced by policymakers in Africa. Pokuola and Olajuyigbe 2023 reviewed the policy environment and the various challenges confronting the coastal areas in Nigeria in particular and the Gulf of Guinea in general, with a mindset of profiling strategies to operationalizing the blue economy, including improving access to domestic water. A qualitative research approach using content analysis was adopted to examine marine conservation initiatives, regional collaboration, management approaches, and strategic framework that were adopted in each member state. The study subsequently suggested a strategic framework for the Gulf of Guinea to transition to the blue economy. Adegboyega, Olukoyi, Olajuyigbe, and Jibade 2019 utilized Landsat TM 1984, ETM 2000, and OLI 2013 to estimate the changes in the land use land cover categories using GIS techniques, economic valuation methods, and monetary valuation model to estimate the ecosystem service loss in the coastal area of Lagos State, Nigeria. The result as shown in figures 10, 11, and 12 show that 1,741 hectares of water bodies were lost to land reclamation between 2000 and 2013. This was very significant to water budget and dense domestic water supplies. Furthermore, Adegboyega, Fakpo, Ogunshola, and Olajuyigbe examined the impact of urban land use changes on water quality in Ado-Ekiti between 1981 and 2015 using some important indicator parameters such as E. coli, pH, and lead present in different water bodies. Landsat TM 1991, ETM 2000, OLI 2015, and ICONOS 2015 data were acquired, processed using ArcGIS 10.2 and Elders Imaging 9.1 software for land use and land cover change analysis. The water samples were collected and analyzed. The results were compared with the save limit. Figures 13, 14, and 15 revealed that between 1981 and 2015, water bodies decreased by 0.02. The water samples were found to be contaminated by E. coli and lead, and therefore considered unsafe for human consumption. Also, the depleted area becomes vulnerable to surface runoff and large-scale flooding, with significant implications on surface and groundwater pollution. Claims notwithstanding. The Vice Chancellor. My efforts are just a leeway to further research. I therefore strongly canvass that further research efforts should be deepened in the following areas. 1. Climate change and domestic water supply. Climate change is exacerbating both water scarcity and water-related hazards, including floods, drought, sea level rise, as rising temperature disrupts precipitation patterns, and the entire water cycle. Sea level rise extends salinization of groundwater and decreased freshwater availability for human and ecosystem in coastal areas through sea incursion. 2, domestic water financing. Ensuring the sustainable financing of domestic water in Nigeria is germane. Adequate investment level for water security could save people's lives and improve their health, avoid economic losses, and increase the resilience of sectors and economies. Despite this strong economic case for water-related investment, financing flows in the country are not commensurate with investment needs of the sector. 3, energy and domestic water security. Energy and water are intricately connected. Water is essential in providing energy, just as energy is needed to produce water. Thus, for sustainable water supply, an integrated development of the energy and water policies is of paramount importance and cannot be in isolation from each other. No doubt, electricity supply is a huge challenge in Nigeria. Recommendations. The Vice Chancellor. Having understood that domestic water provision in Nigeria is facing many challenges due to numerous artificial factors, despite the abundance of water resources in the country, it is apposite to recommend good approaches that will aid various policies already in place. It is also apt to suggest new strategies that could assist the implementation of plans already developed over time, so as to be able to address the paradox around water phenomenon in a bid to achieve a true and sustainable urban water system for the country. Towards this end, the following suggestions are presented. 1, discouragement of mega water projects and adoption of atomization strategy. Mega projects are really grand in scale and could be economically and socially transformative. However, such projects often experience time and cost overruns, which in the most extreme examples can lead to the cancellation of the large part of the project or even the project itself. Examples of such projects are banned. For example, the raw water project in Ekiti State and the Owena multipurpose dam in Ondo State. The disadvantage inherent in mega water projects therefore calls for the atomization of sources through the creation of sectional large-scale distribution center, that is mini water works, in sections of cities that would have defined sphere of influence, authority, and coverage rather than a centralized source. However, this recommendation does not totally rule out the possibility of construction of additional dams, especially from the private sector initiative. Rainwater harvesting has traditionally been viewed as a potential water supply source in rural settlements, especially in the southern part of Nigeria. Due to its economic and ecological advantage, efforts should also be made to encourage rainwater harvesting in this part of the country. 2, privatization of water supply. Public water delivery system in Nigeria is bedeviled with lack of accountability, inefficient management, corruption, and undue overhead costs. The private sector is better off here, as it has the advantage of being able to mobilize funds and manage such effectively. The concept of public-private popular partnership practice, PPPP, in which both the government, the private sector, the non-governmental organization, the community-based organization, the faith-based organization, supranational bodies, and communities are jointly involved in both the finance and management of water system, becomes a formidable strategy for mobilizing and managing the needed resources. It is imperative to emphasize that if absolute privatization is adopted, water service company must not compete with each other for the operation of individual supply systems. This service monopoly must be reinforced by well-defined water supply areas. The adoption of this model is therefore in tandem with the atomization of water earlier and fast. 6.3. The need to recognize water planning as a specialized aspect of city planning. The proposed professional water planner is expected to collect, compile, analyze, and process data that could proactively inform decision-making on water supply and demand. B, assess water demand based on population data, usage, and storage. C, assess water quality implications. D, develop measures to meet inadequacies in water supply. And E, communicate technical issues to stakeholders. Towards this end, the need to build water planning curriculum in Nigerian university education system is strongly recommended. 4, provision of water for the coastal dwellers. The newly created Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy should consider the provision of safe water to the inhabitants of the coastal region of Nigeria as imperative and urgent. The Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy should therefore deploy best available technology, including desalinization, even though expensive, as a possible option to achieve this strategy. 5, bringing water close to the home. Efforts should be made to bring water source close to the home. Water pipe laying must grow with the city. The long-term desire of water supply system in the city should be to ensure that every house is connected to pipe water. This underscores the need to accept the concept of site and services schemes in Nigerian planning model. 6, establishment of a regulatory body for water quality monitoring. The study recommended the establishment of a body whose responsibility shall be to monitor and enforce water quality standards in the country. Final note. The Vice Chancellor, respected audience, the reliance of households on wells and boreholes in Nigeria is overwhelming. Unfortunately, most of these facilities are not found within homes, thereby aggravating the problems that are associated with time and distance. The construction of wells and boreholes has now become a formidable point of political campaigns and subsequent social interventions in political agenda. This legislation strongly proclaims that the provision and commissioning of public wells and boreholes should no longer be celebrated with pomp and pageantry by Nigerian politicians, as such celebration represents a demonstration of poverty of mind. The provision of wells and boreholes as sources of water supplied to Nigeria by government is an indication of failure on the part of the Nigerian political leadership and ignorance on the part of the masses. In this 21st century, it is the right of every household to be connected with pipe water, since it is considered as the safest source of water that is unexposed to contaminants en route or through surface runoff. Also, the United Nations Resolution 64/292 of 2010 explicitly recognized the human right to clean water and acknowledged that clean drinking water and sanitation are essential to the realization of all human rights. Therefore, government must give priority to the provision of sufficient, safe, acceptable, physically accessible, and affordable water for households, personal, and domestic uses. Conclusive data. This lecture has identified the reasons for the missing link in the provision of safe drinking water in Nigeria, while appropriate recommendations have been offered in realization that water is life. All households in this critical sector in Nigeria must collaborate and be actively involved in bridging the gap. Acknowledgement. Permit me to recognize and appreciate individuals, friends, colleagues, and corporate organizations, institutions, and family members who have contributed personally and severally to my career progression. Above all, to my Maker, the Almighty God, I give all honor. No doubt, I am indeed a product of grace. He has enabled me to taste the best of several worlds: the National Civil Service, International Civil Service, and the prestigious academy. I return all glory to him. How I wish my parents, Chief Joshua Olajuyigbe and Princess Apike Olajuyigbe, were here today. Your efforts are proving that education remains the only social leveler. You made me to sit among the kings. I remain eternally grateful for making me who I am today. Unfortunately, you left too early. I wish to put on record that Professor Adebisi Balogun was the vessel used by God to manifest my dreams of becoming a professor into reality. He was there at my downtime to appropriately guide me. Sir, I am grateful. Professors Adedayo Fashaki, late Adebi Idaramola, Bayo Alokon, among several others, put me under intense pressure to complete my PhD to time. It was a good push. I appreciate you. It is on record that I have been much favored by the management of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, having been appointed as Associate Director or Director of the Center for Research and Development, Center for Entrepreneurship, and the University Advancement Center under 4 substantive Vice Chancellors out of the 5 that I have passed through since my engagement as a lecturer in 2024. This is an unusual privilege. Thank you. Permit me to also use this opportunity to appreciate TED Fund for granting me funds for group research in 2016 and traveling grants in 2013. I was a 3-time fellowship award winner of the Netherlands Fellowship Program in 2015, in 2007, in 1991 to 1992. I am grateful. I remember with relish the Western State Scholarship, which made me to be one of the 100 most brilliant secondary students in the region between 1972 and 1976, thanks to the objective and unbiased government of those good old days. It is apposite to appreciate my large family in Aramoko Ekiti, especially the Oisiki dynasty and the royal family of Alara of Aramoko Ekiti Kingdom. Time and space will not allow me to present a comprehensive list. However, I especially recognize and appreciate the following: Pa Ezekiel Adibanji, late Joseph Akiyemi Ibikunle, late Johnson Awe, among others. I am particularly indebted to my childhood friends and club members, including Right Reverend Olajuyigbe Adebayo, Bayo Adeojo, MNI, Laolu Akinluyi, Kayode Fasomi, Akioluware Jr., Dr. Bayo Adeyemo, among others. The Vice Chancellor. I equally request to recognize my close associates, including Architect Dr. Folusho Adelakun, Prince Oloyede Akindele, Engineer Dare Adedara, Abdurrahman Suberu, Honorable Niyi Oseni, I Chief Adetunji Adele, Bayo Phillips, Laolu Akindolire, Tope Kolawole, Bumi Alade FCA, Shigbenga Olaniyi, Pastor and Ms. Oluwole Orebi, Ms. Tebitope Olabode, and Dr. Ms. Olumekun, among others. I was blessed with loving mother and father-in-laws, late Deaconess Ojifala Ayisat, and late Chief Oseni Adaramewa, the Salaja of Ekiti, and the Balogun Musulumi. I appreciate Mrs. Oluyemi Daudu Omotola, and engineer and Mrs. Baskaran. My brothers and sisters-in-laws and their families are simply awesome. They include Mr. and Mrs. Kunle Falokwe, Mr. and Mr. Ogunbolude, Dr. Barrister and Mrs. Kamsin Adaramewa, Mr. and late Mrs. Funke Antayo Ekundayo, Honorable Bisiriyu Adaramewa, Ms. Yebola Tonkola Ole, among others. To my large family of the Anglican Communion, especially the Diocese of Ekiti West and Akure, I sincerely appreciate you for your praise and love. I recognize and appreciate the late, very Reverend Justus Olugasa, His Grace, Most Reverend Simeon Oluwole Borokini, and his wife, Princess C.A. Borokini, Bishop Cornelius Adagbada of Ekiti West Diocese, Bishop S.A. Fagbebi of Owo Diocese, Bishop S.A. Oni of Ondo Diocese, Very Reverend Olusegun Shotayo, Venerable Okwekujero, Canon Ajidaun, and all other clergies in the Anglican Communion. Special appreciation go to His Royal Majesty, Oba Alade Toyinbo Ogunlade Alade Lucy, the Deji of Akure, His Royal Majesty, Oba Olufalae, CFR GCON, the Oluabo of Iluabo, and Pa Ruben Fasoranti. Their fatherly roses I joined the Anglican family in Akure. Let me also specially recognize the Alara of Aramoko Ekiti Council, ably led by Oba Dr. Olu Adeyemi, MNI, and the Aramoko Development Association. Members of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners are deeply appreciated. The Chief Raphael Adebisi, my professional mentor, cannot be forgotten in our age. I sincerely appreciate you. Others are Nathaniel Atebije, the national president, Toyin Ayinde, Akin Olofin, among others. Equally appreciated are members of the Counseling Association of Nigeria, the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators, and all saint ladies. I remember with gratitude my teachers, colleagues, and classmates in my primary and secondary schools and in the universities that I attended. I am particularly grateful to my primary school teachers, including Owolabi Ogundipe, J.O. Ogundele, B.G. Fagbemi, and Chief Dr. F. Idaramola. At the University of Ife, late Professor O. Adejuyigbe, Professor J.O. Adejuwon, LKJJ, among others, shaped my future. Professor Kule, Professor Kufa, and others at ITC, the Netherlands, are appreciated. Thanks for the training received from late Professor Adepoju Onibokun, late Professor M.O. Filani, Professor Areola, Professor Tunde Agbola, Professor Isigbe Boluge, among others. To my friends at the Aramoko Secondary School, Federal School of Art and Science, the University of Ife, Ile-Ife, University of Ibadan, and the ITC, SKD, the Netherlands, I appreciate the beauty beautiful time we had together. I recognize my big uncles, aunts, mentors, and colleagues while in the civil service. Retired Permanent Secretary Chief Dayo Fadipe, Barrister Amure, Chief Ms. Wura Olajuyigbe Olakwe, S.I. Folorunsho, Sam Olumekun, and Ms. Olushola, among others. Special recognition goes to my big aunts, Her Excellency Professor Adelabu, former Modupe Adelabu, former Deputy Governor of Ekiti State, and Chief Mrs. Munishola Oloro. My interaction with the corporate organizations and individuals really enhanced my service delivery to the university system. They include the Dangote Brew, Southwest Bitumen Limited, Ondo State Development and Investment Promotion Agency, Engineer King Odumakide, Engineer Johnson Alabi, late Dr. Shifemi Adekonye, His Excellency Sovio Abiodun Aluko, and Pastor Oyekanmi. My heartfelt gratitude to the Dean of the School of Environmental Technology, Professor I.O.I.J., and the past deans. All professors, lecturers, and non-teaching staff in the school are equally appreciated. Professor Geoff Fashaki. Even though we were classmates at the postgraduate school at the University of Ibadan, but Providence bestowed on you the responsibility to supervise my PhD work. I did not only become your first full-fledged doctoral graduate, I became your first academic son to be pronounced a professor. Thank you for those sleepless nights that ensured the early completion of the PhD work. I sincerely appreciate you, sir. All the staff of the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, whom I had the privilege to lead for about 3 years, I appreciate your love and support. I am equally very grateful to the members of the University Advancement Center for their cooperation and diligence, including Enoch Ajayi, Bolaji Ojumu, Olajumoke Lanola, Abiodun Olabinton, among others. I equally appreciate all the staff of Fieldmont International Limited and those who have relationship with the company. The contribution of my postgraduate students are sincerely appreciated. Equally, all the residents of Alagbaka GRA, under the leadership of Pastor Idogo, are also appreciated. You have facilitated conducive environment required for my cognitive development. My siblings have been wonderful. Late Mrs. Abike Ayodeji, Ms. Funke Familuba, Mrs. Comfort Ali Adeboye, Mr. Idowu Olajuyigbe, and Mr. Alaba Olajuyigbe. Thanks for always being there for me. Let me also express my appreciation to my children for their love and understanding. Superintendent of Police and Superintendent of Police, Mrs. Adekunle and Bukola Adedayo. Mr. and Mrs. Koforola Adebayo. Dr. and Dr. Mrs. Iyitayo and Teniola Omotola. Dr. and Dr. Mrs. Bolaon and Abinaya Olajuyigbe. And Engineer Olakomi Olajuyigbe. The grace of God shall always be sufficient for you. I enjoy ceaseless joy from my grandchildren. Temiloluwa, Iretomiwa, Testimony, Anjola Oluwa, Darasimi, Obaloluwa, and Ikeola. You will continue to soar high in life. Amen. Finally, I wish to acknowledge and appreciate my treasure, a great woman of uncommon virtues and humanity, my jewel of inestimable value, my soulmate and Danny wife, Dr. Mrs. Folawowel Winifred Olajuyigbe Niadara Mewa, for your prayers, love, and understanding. You promised to make the home front conducive for me during my PhD work. You kept your promise. You tolerated all my inadequacies. Thank you for your labor of love. I shall continually appreciate and love you. The Vice Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We can sustain the applause. I want to, on behalf of Madam Vice Chancellor and the University Management, appreciate everyone that has come to grace this occasion. We are not taking it for granted. We appreciate you. We thank you most sincerely. I will give ourselves rounds of applause. How I wish I would be able to mention names, but for want of time, I may not be able to mention our names one after the other. And so, if you do not hear your name from our end here, you think it's that we duly recognize your presence. I'm just going to mention just a few names. I want to start from our Professor Zacchaeus Debo Adeyewa, former Vice Chancellor, runs University Ede. You're welcome, sir. Professor Adedayo Fashakin, Chairman of Council. You're welcome, sir. Director, former Rector, Professor Olatunde Arayola, former DVCA Futa. Professor Deji Rufus Ogunshemi, former DVCA Futa. Thank you for coming. Professor Tolu Akimbogun, former DVCD Futa. I think they are occupying the front row. Thank you for coming. Professor Mrs. Yamisi Adeparusi, member of Council Futa, our employer. Professor Olubode Kolade Koriko, former member of Council Futa. Professor Olu Aturamu, former member of Council Futa. This gathering is rich. Professor Festus Ademola Ayesomi, former chairman, Committee of Dean Futa. Professor Mrs. Oluwatoyin Oludahunsi, Dean School of Agric and Agricultural Technology, Futa. Professor Sunday Robert Ogunduyile, former VC Olusegun Agagu, University of Science and Technology, Okitipupa. Professor Mrs. Adenike Abiolu, former acting university librarian, Futa. Dr. Mrs. Modupe Ajayi, former registrar, Futa. Prince Adegbule Adeshida, former university librarian. Mrs. Zainab Falaye, former deputy university librarian, Futa. Mrs. Salahu, representative of the president of Futa Alumni Association Worldwide. Honorable Niyi Oseni, the Honorable Commissioner for Environment, Ondo State. You're welcome. His Imperial Majesty, Oba Dr. Aladelusi Ogunlade, the Deji and paramount ruler of Akure Kingdom. Kabiesi, you are welcome. He is represented by Senior High Chief Shola Adegbomire, the Ashai of Akure Kingdom. You're welcome, sir. His Royal Majesty Oba Olu Adegoke Adeyemi, the Alara of Aramoko Ekiti, represented by High Chief Diran Adebayo, the Ashao of Aramoko. His Excellency Savio Abiodun Aluko, former Deputy Governor of Ekiti State. You're welcome, sir. You are very welcome. His Grace, Most Reverend Dr. Simeon Borokini, the Archbishop of Ondo Ecclesiastical Province, the Right Reverend Dr. Stephen and Mrs. Ayodeji Fagbemi, represented by the Reverend Colonel Oke Akiro and the Reverend Abiola Koka. You are all welcome. Right Reverend Mrs. Adagbada, the Lord Bishop of Ekiti West. Right Reverend Jide Adebayo, the Lord Bishop of Igbomina Diocese. Reverend Raphael Oladimeji, Akure Anglican Diocese. Reverend R.A. Ayobami, St. James Church, Aramoko. Pastor Oluwaseyi Osanyibi, Power and Glory Tabernacle, Akure. Chief and Chief Mrs. Sanya Onyison, member of Futa Akure Partnership. Chief Dr. F.A. Daramola, the lecturer, school principal. Can you stand up for recognition, please? Thank you very much. Sometimes when you see your seed succeeding, you become very joyous. Thank you for coming and thank you for training our inaugural lecturer. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you I have eminent people here, men of timber and caliber. And so I'm very, very careful to pronounce names so that I will not be surcharged. I still have a list of people that I need to mention. I have said it before, I may not be able to mention all the names. I'm having big people here, but I will try to do my best. I have High Chief Ashao of Aramoko Ekiti. I want to make him a contact to all the Alara in council of Aramoko Ekiti. Can you all stand up for recognition, please? Thank you very much for coming. I can see the whole of Aramoko Ekiti represented at this gathering. A round of applause. Please be seated. I have here in the gathering Princess Korede Giwa, Permanent Secretary Osepa, Mr. Obonoye. We have Claudius Anglican Communion, members of Aramoko community. We have members of Anglican Communion, friends and professional colleagues. We have members of the Futa community here present. We have family members here present. We have Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Physical Planning, Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, HSC Benga Olaniyi. If you are here, you are welcome. Thank you very much for coming. For sake of time, let me recognize and acknowledge the presence of the children of the inaugural lecturer, Engineer Olajuyigbe. I can see the resemblance of your father there. Mrs. Bukola Adedayo. Mrs. Kofoworola Adebayo. Dr. and Dr. Mrs. Teniola Omotola. Dr. Bolahan and Dr. Mrs. Abinaya Olajuyigbe. I want to recognize the gentlemen of the press who are here. I equally recognize all the Futarians who are here present, great Futarians. Yeah, I want you to, all of you, everyone at this gathering, to join me to acknowledge and appreciate somebody the inaugural lecturer refers to as his treasure, a great woman of uncommon virtues and humanity, his jewel of inestimable value, the soulmate, the darling wife, Dr. Mrs. Folawewo Winifred Olajuyigbe. She has rightly done well in the family through her prayers, love, and understanding. Thank you, Mommy, for keeping to your promise. The inaugural lecturer said that you promised to keep the home. That you did. Thank you very much. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to thank you all for coming. God bless you all.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, shall we double the applause for the acting Vice Chancellor? I have a couple of announcements before we wrap up proceedings. I'd like to respectfully recognize the presence of the representative of the Dean, School of Health and Mineral Sciences, Professor Ademola Akimbobola. You are welcome, sir. There will be a reception at the multipurpose hall after these proceedings, while students are expected to remain in this auditorium. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my Lord spiritual and temporal, I'd like to crave your indulgence to ask that we respectfully stand for the footer as well as the national anthem of our great nation. Remain standing for the procession of the Vice Chancellor to leave the auditorium. We will remain standing as the procession of the Vice Chancellor leaves the auditorium. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We bid you safe return to all your destinations. Give them tea. It will help them. He has sent to me. That's why everybody's back. I will just collect. If this is something.